Get that.
Awesome. Hello to everyone who is on now. Welcome to this chat and chew. I want to make sure that you all have your food ahead of you or around you so that we can go ahead and feed our bodies while we digest on all this juiciness that we're preparing to receive. Give our minds something to chew on. So welcome to this space, this platform. For those newcomers, I do see some familiar names, but for the newcomers, my name is Cobbs-Myers. I practice as a holistic nutrition, and I brand myself as a holistic disruptor because I want to disrupt this traditional way of healthcare practice and broaden the scope to allow us to look at the body more holistically. Okay, we are too much of a complex individual to look at something so one-sided. It requires a level of awareness that we tend not to take into consideration. Okay, and that's why I wanted to have this conversation with our special guest today, Dr. Eleanor Hooks. We are going to talk about that mind-body alliance and the interrelation between the two. Okay, when we have chat and choose, it's all about instilling and teaching you or showing you the importance of actually having a holistic perspective when you're seeking to improve your health as well as reduce stress within your body. Okay, we want to do this because I mean, at the end of the day, we come in contact with so many circumstances, so many stress factors, right? And we want to be able to be more equipped to better handle them. And a lot of times, we have a lot of stress within the body. We feel it in the body because we are not equipped to be able to mitigate our responses, right? We can't control anything outside of us, but we definitely can have better control of our internal environment. So that's what this conversation is about today. When we look at stress, I want you to have this picture of stress being like 100 punches in a punching bag. And the punching bag is actually different areas of the body, right? Whether it is your mind, whether it is your gut, okay? You're constantly getting punches in that place, and it doesn't have time to recuperate. Okay? It doesn't have time to recuperate. Therefore, the organ or that muscle is weakening and it's not able to optimally function for you. Okay, this is why we're seeing so many health conditions and actually at exponential increasing rates of the digestive tract and its decline in its function, maybe our cardiovascular system, right? Or our nervous system or our hormonal system that works integratively together, then connects everything to be able to alert us when something is wrong. So it's important that we pay more attention, right, to these areas in the body so that we know how to respond to them. We have to first listen to be able to come with resolve, right? Resolving practice. You have your food in front of you, Dr. Hooks?
I do.
You do? What are you chewing on today?
I have a vegetable bowl that
Awesome.
includes asparagus tips. Well, the base is a quinoa and rice base, but kind of a mixture. And on top of that is, some peppers, some asparagus, some zucchini, mushrooms, and a little bit of corn. I typically don't eat a lot of corn, but
Yeah,
the corn gives it a really nice taste.
that sounds tasty and very nutritious.
Yes, I try.
Yeah, we
I
all are
have to I
trying.
have to admit that over the last couple of days, I will share this with the group. I've had this tremendous craving for ice cream, and I've had to fight myself to keep myself in the house or in the car or wherever in order to keep from, kind of
Um,
losing control. But at the same time, I'm very clear that we can't really restrict ourselves. We really have to,
Yes.
we have to see it as an extra treat, not something that we're going to do every day.
Yes, yes. Having control over that impulse instead of it controlling us.
Exactly.
Yes, I love that. If you don't mind sharing with us on oh, we have some more people come to me, admit them in the room. If you don't mind sharing with us, go ahead and leave in the chat. What are you chewing on as we prepare for this juicy conversation? Look, you guys, I had to eat really fast because I didn't want to eat with or talk with my mouth open and share all my goodness with you all. So I actually had quinoa as well. I had quinoa with some shredded collards, and I actually, which will surprise some people on here, I actually had an egg in mine. Okay.
Oh.
And Dr. Hooks, how that is. Because those who know me, they know that I don't eat meat. So, but I definitely, like you said, having that attention, having that control, I want to make sure I get enough protein. Quinoa is an excellent, complete source of protein. So I definitely had that. It was very tasty, very colorful, very delicious. So I am full, energized, and ready to go, ready to go. You guys, we want to have this conversation because how many of you all can definitely contest? We live in a culture that is high stress. It's high stress. Raise your hand, say me. Yes. Okay. So I'm getting some agreements in there. We live in a very high stress area, right? Or just in the United States, it's a lot of demands, right? And it comes in different forms. It can be our mates, it can be the demands or the responsibility of our children in our home life. It can be in our environment, right? Our workspace. Maybe it's an employee, maybe it's a colleague, maybe it's a friend, that dramatic friend who doesn't have the ability to have control of their emotions, and they may be venting towards you, or you may be the individual who they are actually taking it out on, and because of that connection, we are experiencing some of that stress from that. So we want to, Dr. Hooks is going to be here to help me provide you with the information so that you have some practical information that you can embody and leave and instill as you leave this sacred space today, right? I am so gracious to have you here, Dr. Eleanor Hooks. She is so magical. She's magical, and I'm grateful for the time. I'm so grateful for the time that you have so freely given. And I'm going to go ahead and introduce her because I want you all to know how honored I am and how much of an honor it is for her to be here today. She has 30-year tenure of independent coaching, right, as well as consulting, leading coaching and with corporate executive clients like BMW Manufacturing. And let me pause really quickly. Let me pause and let me take a breather. She has an extensive portfolio. I've just condensed and highlighted some things, okay? Because we will be here for the entire 30 minutes just talking about all her magic. But she's been able to work with corporate executives with like BMW, manufacturing, Georgia Pacific, as well as Verizon, which at one point was Bell South. So this lets you know how long she's been in the game. Okay, she focused on mental resilience, and what is covered under mental resilience is the tools that is necessary for self-awareness, also managing volatile environments. Okay, we can speak to that. Those volatile environments that are created by multiple variables within that space, okay, having the ability to navigate through that space and transition out of it smoothly and not let it impact you so greatly. Also with change, a lot of us, believe it or not, whether it's in our workspace or in our home space, we have a difficulty dealing with change because it requires a sense of surrendering, right? And we have this false sense of control, thinking that we can control our external environment as opposed to focusing on controlling our internal environment. right? And those coping complexities. So that speaks to what she focuses on when she deals with clients, helping them being able to navigate as they connect with people, right? Her education and background, she has a BA in English. She also excuse me, a I don't know. Let me slow down. Master of Education, a Master of Education in Counseling from University of Maryland, whoop, whoop, DMV area. Okay, I don't know how many people are from the DMV area, but yeah, she has a Master of Education in Counseling from University of Maryland, a PhD in Intercultural Education, and is a registered corporate coach with the worldwide, this is a tongue twister, Worldwide Association of Business Coaches. So if you all can give me some virtual hand claps and help me welcome her into this space. Yes, she's very magical, very magical. Thank you again so much, Dr. Eleanor Hooks, for gracing us with your presence today.
Okay. Well, my goodness. I am the one who's really blessed to be here because whenever I have an opportunity to speak to any group, I feel as if I'm doing the work that I'm supposed to do. I have two loves. One of my loves, besides my dog, I have two loves. One is coaching others, engaging with others so that I can have the experience of seeing them move from where they are to where they can be. And then secondly, I love to write. So coaching and writing, whenever I'm doing that, I'm really in a very happy place. To use a lot of the neuroscience and brain chemistry kind of language, my happy chemicals are really firing through my body and into my brain. So, and that really is important in terms of mental resilience, because the whole idea is that if you can develop the kind of mental fitness that places you in a happy place most of the time, not all the time. We can't be happy all the time. That's unrealistic. And it's kind of it's an optimistic place that really is going to really wound you eventually, because you will be disappointed when something happens that you can't control, that you lose complete control over. Then you're in a very deeply unhappy place. So the whole idea is to keep this balance where, you're happy 75% of the time. And some of you might say, oh my goodness, that's not possible. I have too much going on. But it's not that people who are able to manage that balance have less going on. It's just that they have a different way of looking at what's going on. And that becomes mental resilience. So there are two concepts that go hand in hand. One is to become mentally fit. And then secondly, to be able to use that fitness to be mentally resilient. So for me, mental resilience is being able to recover quickly when something really gets on your last nerve. Okay. And maybe even less than that, maybe something that is just a slight, some insensitive comment, or too many priorities coming towards you at the same time. Those are examples. So before we get started a little bit with some questions that Bainisha wanted me to address, I think it's important to understand, as Bainisha has already intimated, that there is a connection between your mind and your body. So I want everyone to do this in your own space, just a simple exercise, and then we will understand what, at a very, very minimal place, what mind and body looks like. So I want you in your space to just hug yourself. Just hug yourself. Do that for a few minutes. When you are under stress, this is something that you can do. If you've heard something that really hurts you to your core, if something is happening and you're not quite sure why it's happening, if you're having a reaction to something and you're not sure what the trigger is, if you, even if you eat something and you feel it in your body, if you smell something and it's an unfavorable smell, I could give you examples of that. If you touch something and it gives you a negative reaction, kind of the hot stove touch. So anything that assaults your senses in some way, you really can hug yourself, either literally or in your mind. In your mind, you can hug yourself and say, I'm okay. I'm doing the best I can. I have self-compassion, not just self-care. It's not getting into a tub of warm water and kind of soaking, even though that thought may really take you to a wonderful place. But it's being able to be in a place of self-care, self-kindness, a sense that you're a part of humanity. No matter how someone tries to separate you, as if you're not, you're always a part of a common humanity. Everybody's having challenges. So you can unhug yourself, or if you're really liking that, you can continue.
I was a little warm. It was getting me all
So
comfortable and soothed.
the whole idea there is that there's a mind-body interaction there. Because when you hug yourself, when you really pull in all of your senses in that hug, you are also having a mental, not only an emotional reaction, a physical reaction, you're having a mental reaction. It, as you said, Bainisha, it feels good. You want to be there. So that's the mental fitness exercise, one of them, that you can do to continually pull yourself back into that space. When we talk about someone who does not have mental resilience, it means someone who flies off the handle, gets off track. You notice it's really more of an open and exposed kind of experience. It's not this. This is not getting off track. This is very integrated, very connected, connecting your mind and body. So the whole idea around mental resilience is that you must develop mental fitness. Now, remember, the mind and the body are connected. So if you want to be mentally fit, you have to be physically fit as well. Now, all sorts of physical impacts are going to, kind of rock you back and cause you to think again about what you need to do. Some of you may be under some kind of doctor's care. You may have wisely gone to a naturopathic person, or you may have come to Bainisha for help. So let's start with, and I'm not going to pretend to be a nutritionist, that's Bainisha's area, but I know that during the pandemic of 2020, when I was diagnosed with cancer And I managed to slog through it, but I got through it. Near the end of that treatment, when I was in recovery, an oncology nutritionist said to me, part of your good recovery, she wasn't totally congratulatory, but in terms, it wasn't like extraordinary, but it was a good recovery. It was balanced and good. There are always aftershocks with cancer treatment, but in recovery. But she said part of the reason that I did so well was the way that I ate, what I ate. I know that with those, and I'll go back to those instances in recovery when things just go awry. After all, when you've gone through chemotherapy and radiation, it assaults your body. But there were actually two things. This is something that the nutritionist did not know because we really didn't have this conversation. But in parallel to what I was eating was not only what I was thinking, but how I was thinking. And I can remember the first time that I actually started thinking differently, particularly thinking differently about my agency, what I could do for myself, not necessarily what other people could do for me. During treatment, all sorts of people had their hands on me and, scans and needles and all kinds of things. But what I could do for myself was really important. And the first time that occurred was actually in 1995. Some of you probably weren't even born then, okay, or barely. But in 1995, I entered into some personal training in Tai Chi. So I had a trainer who gave me personal training in Tai Chi on a bi-weekly basis. So twice a month, I would go to this trainer. And he introduced me to, excuse me, to meditation at that time. Mindfulness meditation, essentially. And it was sitting meditation. So I did sitting meditation. I was able to get quiet. And in that quiet space, I began to feel good. So anything that was going on in my life, and at that time I was traveling extensively. I was all over the place. Sometimes, 5 days a week I was on a plane, and sometimes in 3 different locations around the country. So with that kind of schedule, I felt that I needed a place to de-stress. So that's the reason that I engaged this personal trainer. So at first it was sitting meditation, and we did that. He taught me Tai Chi, the whole Tai Chi 108 movements, which is more than I can put into my head right now. I haven't practiced that level of Tai Chi for some time. But one day he invited me to practice my kick. And by the way, it's a martial art, but the whole idea is to control yourself, not other people. You're not trying to harm anybody. It's not, a warlike kind of, even though it's called martial art, it's not about war and battle. It's about how do you control yourself? How do you bring control to your mind and your body and integrate the two? So I had already begun this journey of pulling those two things together. So he said, let's go outside. And there was this tree outside, and we often practiced outside, but outside the building where I typically did the Tai Chi practice. So we went to this tree. The tree looked pretty solid. And he said, let's kick this tree. It was a narrow kind of trunk. So we're not talking about an oak tree, right? But we began to kick. And so he showed me the form, and I kicked and I kicked. And at some point, the tree began to bend backwards. And I thought, wow. And so then we continued the kick. And so we talked about the force, the power in the kick. And I said, I just don't get it. I didn't know that I had that kind of force. And he said, go over to the tree and just try to push the tree. And I tried, and it was like a rock. And I thought, oh my goodness, what was that? So we have this force. Actually, Africans call it ashe. You may have heard that expression. It's a life force that we're not really aware of. But through that kicking experience, I realized that I had that force. So then the question is, what do we do with that? We have it in our body. Okay, good lesson. But how do I translate to the integration of my mind and body? That's really the key, because that's mental resilience.
It speaks to that integration between the mind and the body. And I love the examples that you gave. Another example, me, I'm always going to bring it back to gut health. We actually have 1 trillion neurons within our GI tract. Okay. So that not only speaks to the correlation between if we're feeling anxious or if we're feeling overwhelmed, sometimes we have that queasiness in our stomach, right? We have those sensations that come with, or some people may go to the bathroom before going on doing a public speech or something, because it speaks to the correlation of those neurons, those blood vessels that are intertwined together and sending signals back and forth. This also speaks to the level of food, the quality of food that we fuel our body with, and why we can eat food that aren't great for us. And there's a correlation of studies that have proven the connection between having a fatty, unhealthy diet and depression, or having food that's high in sugar and increases your rates of dementia and Alzheimer's. So again, that just speaks to the very intricate and intimate integration between the two. The term that I love that you used was mental fitness. And I love that because it speaks to having to put it into practice intentionally and purposefully. And you can't, a person can't go into the gym, right, and pick up 100 pounds if they're not used to actually lifting 100-pound bar. They actually have to work their way up to doing that. So that speaks to the level of environments that may come with a level of stress that we may walk into, but are not equipped enough to actually be able to handle it. So it goes back to that point of making sure that you actually put this into practice consistently, right? And I also enjoyed that you brought up that conversation of how that encounter with you kicking the tree, you constantly kicking that tree, and the energy. We have a lot of potential energy within us ready to be used. And if believe it or not, it's going to be used consciously or unconsciously. Exactly. So you have to be in control of how you direct that energy within the body. Can you speak to me about that moment when you realize the powerful effect it has on the body, where that life-altering moment for you, it has on the body and your life as a whole?
Well, up until that time, I had simply been moving around, doing work, what I would call being unconscious. Sometimes we're doing whatever we're doing, whatever the work is that we're doing. We are working with our children. We are working with our partners, our spouses. We are, in terms, when I say working with, engaging with, we are engaging with all sorts of things constantly. We are constantly doing what a famous philosopher, Martin Buber, said, that our entire life is meeting. We're either meeting some kind of challenge, or we're meeting a person, or we're meeting a group, or we're meeting, something. So we're meeting people, we're meeting situations, but so often we don't meet ourselves. And that's critical. We have got to pay closer attention to ourselves. There's a whole, I know you've heard this a million times about putting on a plane, putting the oxygen mask on yourself first. It doesn't mean, the other part of that analogy is that eventually you can go and put it on other people. It's not that it's like, I'm first, that's it. Okay, I'm breathing, everything's good. No, it's, I'm going to take care of myself because I need to breathe in order to help other people. So it's about really taking care of yourself. So in that moment, I began to be more conscious of myself. So it starts with consciousness, awareness that, hey, wait a minute, I have this body and I have this consciousness of my body, but the consciousness is really the mind part of it. So the more aware you are of something, the more you pay attention to something, the more we can say that you really, really are integrating the mind and the body. So you tend to make better choices. The other piece around that is, and that time it was just a little seed of, even though I had gratitude for other things, it was just a little seed of gratitude, like, wow, look at what my body can do if I really pay attention and really use it in a purposeful way. So grounding in the body. But then in meditation, circling back to that, it was an opportunity for me to pay attention to how my body grounds me. So when we hugged, you're really grounding yourself in the body. So you're not as likely to fly off the handle, as they say, or get off track, because you're grounding yourself in your body. So when people mention meditation, I know people have all kinds of religious traditions that they follow. Meditation is not in conflict with any of that. Because you're doing it anyway. You are doing it anyway. If you are in your car and you are going from A to B, you are meditating. You are being mindful in your meditation in order to get from A to B. If you're not, you're going to end up at C, somewhere you didn't want to go. So there is mindfulness and mindful meditation is essentially paying attention. It is concentrating. It is being still. Or in some cases, it is in motion, but even that motion keeps you grounded in your body. I can meditate while I'm loading or unloading the dishwasher, which I do on a regular basis. I've never been able to figure out how I use as many dishes as I do. It's the only person in my house. But anyone who has spent any time with me knows this is a failing, but it's just who I am. But I can do that while I'm washing the dishes, doing the laundry, cleaning the house, do whatever I'm doing, I can be in a meditative space. I can also be there when I'm walking. So there's walking meditation where I don't just walk down a street. I notice the plants. I notice the flowers. I notice what I'm listening. These are all senses, right? That I'm really kind of tapping into. I notice what I hear. I notice what I'm seeing, what I'm smelling, okay? What I'm touching, all of this. I'm paying close attention. I'm even paying attention to the ground beneath my feet.
Mm.
And in order to pay attention, I have to slow down.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm walking quickly, I'll miss it. If I'm walking more slowly and more deliberately and with the idea of paying attention, I will pull in all of that information.
Mm-hmm.
So that when I get home, I'm in a very relaxed state. And incidentally, going back to nutrition, the idea of eating and then taking a walk, we talk about flattening the glucose curve, that we have the spike in glucose when we eat, particularly when we eat sugar or carbs, but we have a spike at any rate. And then to flatten that so their glucose does not remain in a high level more than the body can really deal with. When we do that and we are walking slowly, we are giving our body time to really experience the leveling, the balancing that happens. So when you ground yourself in your body, it is about paying attention to what's happening in the body. There is, and I won't go into it, but it's something that the group can look up if they want to. I might actually write a post on this, but it's called the body scan. The body scan is a way to relax. You can do that. You can do it lying down, sitting up, whatever you want to do. But you essentially use your mind to do a scan, like a CT scan or an MRI or something like that, where you start with your feet and just move slowly up your body, paying attention to what's going on in your body, concentrating on moving your mind up all the way to the top of your head. It's amazing what you find out. In fact, I did that in recovery after cancer. I would do regular body scans to pay attention to what was happening with my body. This is part of mental fitness, by the way, paying attention to what's going on in your body. So I did that, and I was able to detect that something was not quite right in the base of my stomach. And this is after going through cancer treatment. And, I'm literally about 8 months out from the end of my treatment. And I noticed this through doing a body scan. I reported it to my oncologist. She referred me to a gastroenterologist. Fast forward, I ended up having open surgery to remove a tumor in my stomach. I
That
wanted to
speaks to the
share that with
difference.
you. I want to share that with you because people, this is generally the case, people don't pay attention to the loud, megaphone announcements of the body. And the body says, hey, wait a minute, something's not right here. They don't pay attention. But a body scan forces you to pay attention. I shouldn't say forces you, but it allows you to pay attention. And the more you do that, the more fit you become. Because now your mind and your body are integrated. They're talking to one another. They're linked anyway, but now we're talking. And, from an emotional standpoint, excuse me. There's also this mindfulness around your emotional state, because I don't know about you, but I eat emotionally sometimes.
I'm sure
just,
so one of,
just
I'm
gonna own
sure
it.
each and every one of us have been
I'm just
guilty
going
of
to own it. My
that.
vice, Nisha knows my vice is potato chips. I will find the healthiest version of potato chips that I can find under stress. And I know potato chips are awful. I know it.
Yeah.
And most of the time I'm fine. But if I can pull myself back, use the, the fitness that I have developed, I do not go there. I make a wiser choice, which is also part of mental resilience and mental fitness. The idea of making better choices.
Yeah. That's good. I wanted to circle back onto, and I don't even know if you intentionally did this, but it was so good the way it happened. You used the two terms consciousness and awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a difference, there is a difference. Consciousness going back to, we can give a million of examples, but one that comes to mind is the consciousness to eat, but the awareness of knowing what you're eating is doing to your body, right? The consciousness of walking, but the awareness of knowing or feeling the texture of the asphalt upon which you're walking on, what it's feeling like. The conscious of doing that exercise she was talking about. As a matter of fact, I was just listening to Jim Quick, and he was talking about that same exercise where you tense the body and you relax it to see what it feels like, to provide some contrast so that you are able to establish a baseline and actually highlight that experience that area of the body is feeling. Can you talk about really quickly, because we already, our time, look, time goes fast when you're having fun, right? So I just want to make sure that we actually have the information people can walk away with. 3 practices that those who are here today can actually take with them to be able to build up their mental resilience and their mental fitness.
Okay.
To bring harmony within that body.
Well, one is to, first of all, pay attention to your body. So we've been talking about that. That is critical. You have to start there, because if you're not aware of if you're not paying attention to your body, you don't have a level of awareness of it, there's not much you can do. So you have to start there. But then I'd like to share a couple of tools, and I'm glad you mentioned what I call tense and relax. Tense and relax is really valuable when you're under stress. But there are other ways. One, and this is my go-to, this is the idea that your breath is the way in which you can ground your body. So doing all kinds of breath work. One tool is called box breathing. I don't know how many people know box breathing. But if you imagine a box, it's like, let's say there's a box in the air. And this pulls together concentration, attention, breathing, all of that. So you imagine that box, and first of all, you take a deep breath. And with the deep breath, you go up one side of the box. And then you exhale and go across the top of the box.
Okay.
And inhale, you go down the other side of the box. Okay. And then you exhale the lower part. So it's inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. And you can keep going round and round. And after you go around a couple of times, you're in a very relaxed state. Now, you might say, what does relaxation have to do with it? You cannot develop mental fitness without having a way to pull yourself in and relax. You can't make the best choice, the wisest choice in a situation, unless you are in a state of calm. So what the body wants you to do, when the body says, something's wrong, it wants you to get back to that calm state that the body always wants to be in. It always wants to be there. That's its preferred state. So anytime anything is going wrong in your body, it's because you have in your mind, because this is all your mind, everything that's happening, including what comes your way that's disturbing, all of that is in your mind. You know, there's a story of a person who's two people who are building a cathedral. And they both have a pile of stones. One says, well, I have a pile of stones. I'm just putting one stone on top of the other. And the other one says, I'm building a cathedral. Different mindset, completely. Both of them have a pile of stones. All right. So the whole idea is that you have to, not you have to, but I'm suggesting that you work on getting to that place where you always see what is possible, because there's always a gift or opportunity in any challenge that comes your way. So it's, first of all, being aware. Second, using your breathing. And thirdly, is practicing self-compassion. The idea that you're doing the best you can, that you are in a learning mode, that what you do today is a stepping stone to what you can do tomorrow. But you've got to be on that stone today, fully there, fully present in every moment of your life. When I had a threatening illness, it brought it home big time, this idea of really seeing each moment as precious.
Yeah.
Another tool in the mind that I use, and this is the last, was basically, you might call it a chant or an affirmation, whatever you want to call it. But sometimes when you see something that is disturbing or challenging, we want to turn away from it. But my affirmation, something I used in very difficult situations throughout treatment and beyond, is a phrase that simply says, let it come, let it be, let it go. I'll repeat that. Let it come. Whatever it is, you have agency. Let it come. You can do it. You can deal with it. You will be alive at the end of it, believe me. Let it come. Let it be. Let it just be what it is. I'm okay with the way things are right now. That's where your gratitude comes in. Gratitude is a superpower. I wrote a post about that just recently. And then you let it go. We hold on to things that are no longer in any way useful for us. It's not even useful in terms of giving us clues or information, you know? We're holding on. We're holding on to past events. We're holding on to hurts. We're holding on to things that we call failures. Failures are just opportunities to learn more. So those are some tools that I would use. And I could go into a whole thing around different kind of breathing techniques. Just know that focus on breathing, let it come, let it be, let it go. And of course, first of all, Let's zip back up to the first thing. You must have awareness. Pay attention. Pay full attention to your life. Okay.
Though that was priceless wisdom that I put in the chat for you all to copy and paste. Thank you so much for all that, Dr. Hooks. I want to thank you all for being here with us today. It speaks to your commitment to your health individually, but also commitment to the health of our future, our children. And that is something that we as people, if we want to see the change, we have to first be the change, right? And we want to make sure that, of course, in order for us to be able to send these practices beyond our legacy, right? Allowing it to be a part of our legacy, but beyond our time here, we want to make sure that we have a clear understanding of what it takes for this to take place within our lives, so that we can provide those our youth with those same tools. Thank you again so much, Dr. Hooks, again, for gracing us with your presence. And I put up top also her most recent literature that she has released, her book, I am where it really matters, meaning from cancer, right? A memoir experience intended to give hope to survivors. And we are all survivors of something, right? Within our own right. In this lifetime, we will be a survivor of something in our own life. Also, she has an amazing Substack. Please go subscribe. I put the link also in the chat for you all to copy and subscribe as well. And I look forward to seeing you all at the next event. The event is all about fibroids, which is another topic that we need to talk about, especially, with our women, our children. The numbers, the rates, although our health care system is doing an amazing job with just learning more, making advancements in education. However, it's not reflecting the numbers that we're seeing when it comes to the increased rate of these cases. So this information is very vital to the existence of the population. We are seeing infertility going up exponentially. So I definitely hope to see you all. Or if you know anyone who is experiencing these issues, definitely have them there as well. You have Dr. Hooks' information again to stay connected and get more information. This was only a snippet, but imagine getting a book from her, which she can really, we were restricted with time, but she is a wealth of knowledge. I thank you again for showing up. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
I just want to say, I really invite people to get in touch with me by email.
Okay.
Or certainly subscribe to my Substack, where it focuses on mental resilience and peace of mind. But just know that if someone gets in contact with me by email, or if they can also schedule a conversation with me at no charge. So I'm talking about, just connecting with people. That's my purpose. So
I'm going to send a follow-up text with her email, her contact information for everyone, so that you all can have it at your fingertips. Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Hooks. Thank you all so much for being so giving of your time. And I look forward to seeing your beautiful faces again. Take care.
Okay. All right.